Me love me shawty bread. You love me shawty what? Me love me shawty bread. And it was made by honey bun. Me love me shawty bread.
Listeners to Love 101 FM are advised that the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Hello and welcome to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org. And if you're overseas and on the move, US listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you're in the UK, 0330-332-6541. Or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also join us on Love 101 FM Facebook and YouTube Live. In the first watch today, when children go missing. And in the second watch, the church and the concerns about fly-by-night pastors. For our social media question, we ask, how big a concern in Jamaica are fly-by-night pastors? Please share your responses on our Facebook page, Love 101 FM, and also, whether by post or voice note, to WhatsApp 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your responses later on in the program, but before all of that, here's I quote.
This morning's I quote. If I cannot do great things, I can do small things in a great way. Martin Luther King Jr.
No, that's the quote of the week so far for me. Good morning, Shavani.
Good morning, Rev. How are you?
I'm doing cooler than yesterday.
Oh, you got showers yesterday?
I wanted to ask you from Tuesday, how are you managing in this sweltering heat?
No, man, it's dread, man. It's serious.
Turn up, not true.
No, man, not normal.
You know, that is why, we must do everything not to reach hell, because if this is not near to hell, I don't know what else is.
Man, you just can't keep cool.
By the way, that's not an invitation for you, Shavani, to play Feeling Hot, Hot, Hot at the end of the program.
Aye.
The first watch will be back after this break.
Feeling hot.
Digicel Plus LTE Home Service brings super fast internet to more people in more places. That's simply more speed for your entire family to stream, download, and stay connected in real time. Enjoy better coverage, reliable speeds, and more value. To find out if super fast Digicel Plus LTE Home is in your area, call 888-935-5050 or 145 from a Digicel number, or look out for a Digicel Plus agent in your community. Digicel Plus, Jamaica's fastest internet provider.
When all is done and said, me love me shawty bread. You love me shawty what? Me love me shawty bread. And it was made by honey bun. Me love me shawty bread.
This is the soothing sound of your finances being handled by Grace Kennedy Financial Group. And this? It's actually the relaxing noise of your car and home insurance, handled by experts you can trust. Trust Grace Kennedy Financial Group to do your banking, insurance, investments, money services, and more gracefully. Get to know us at gracekennedyfinancialgroup.com.
The Ministry of Health and Wellness wishes to advise that it has resumed vaccination for persons 50 years and older who are due their second dose. These persons will be contacted by the parish health department, and members of the public are asked not to visit any vaccination site unless they have been contacted by the health team. Persons should take their vaccination card, TRN, and a government-issued identification or letter from a justice of the peace to the vaccination site. The Ministry of Health and Wellness thanks the public for for their cooperation.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Now, a few weeks ago, International Missing Children's Day was observed in Jamaica via a virtual forum, which was co-convened by Hear the Children's Cry and Choose Life International. Of course, the issue of missing children in Jamaica and across the world continues to be of great concern. Who really are they? Why do they go missing? And what are the preventative and the proactive measures? Well, to answer these and other related questions, we have so far online Dr. Felicity Sackville Northcott, Director of the Global Missing Children Center. And we are hoping to be joined soon by Mrs. Betty Ann Blaine. Good morning, Dr. Northcott.
Good morning.
How are you this morning?
I am very well. Your music and your upbeat tone has started my day off beautifully. So thank you for that.
Where are you now? Where are you located now?
I'm in Baltimore, Maryland.
Okay. And how's the weather over there? Is it as hot as Jamaica?
No, not nearly as hot as Jamaica, apparently.
All right. Nice to have you with us.
Thank you.
Yes, Dr. Northcott. In the global arena, what constitutes the phrase missing children? How are they determined as such?
Well, that is actually the question of the decade, I would say. One of the problems we have in trying to understand how many children go missing is that each country, in some cases each state, define a missing child differently. So they tend to put kids into sort of what we call silos. So you have children who run away. That's one set of missing kids. You have children who are parentally abducted. So a parent takes a child in violation of an existing custody order. You have children who are trafficked. You have children who are unaccompanied minors and do not have appropriate adult care. You have children who are taken by strangers. So the problem is that because the definition of missing determines who responds and when, each jurisdiction defines a missing child differently. So the question as to who a missing child is sort of up for grabs. We at the International Center for Missing and Exploited...
Is there a time frame, Dr. Northcott, in determining when the child is absent from the home, that they say, yes, this child is really missing?
In most cases, if the child is not where they're expected to be, the law enforcement responds immediately. You don't wait. You never wait for a child to be gone for an hour or a day or a week. If the child is not where they are expected to be at a certain time and that child is reported missing, law enforcement should respond immediately.
I gather that Mrs. Blaine is on. Good morning, Mrs. Blaine.
Good morning. Hi.
Good to have you with us, founder of Hear the Children's Cry.
Yes,
and of course, you know Dr. Northcott very well.
Good morning, Betty Ann.
Felicity. How are you? Good.
Very well, thank you.
Yes, Mrs. Blaine, we're starting by asking what really constitutes the phrase missing children, first from a global perspective. In Jamaica, is it any different?
Not really. We actually encourage parents, family members, and so on, that if the child leaves home, and it's, in other words, they're not gone to school, you don't know where they are. There are signs, perhaps, that you see in the house that may tell you that your child has, has gone for some, if the child is not just gone for a few hours or whatever the case is, we encourage persons, parents especially, and family members to make that report. Mm-hmm. Usually the parent knows, they have an idea. Now whether the child is gone to a friend or somewhere that's, in other words, they know they have a sense when the child is gone, is actually missing. In other words, the child does not intend to return home right away. And so we tell parents, make the report because you never know what is happening. You never know, and you don't want to wait to make that report. When in fact, with the Amanda Alert, as you know, the investigation starts essentially right away. That information is passed around, or it ought to, passed around to police stations and so on. We did that Zoom forum recently. Felicity
it was mentioned in the introduction.
Exactly. And let me just tell you something that we recognize from listening to the parents speaking, though, is that one of the things that one indicator for the parents, is if the child does not come home by nightfall, by dusk, or by nightfall. Now, we don't encourage that, but I'm getting the sense that that is what the parents and family members are using as the kind of flashpoint, that the child is actually missing. From talking to them, they'll tell you, when we don't see them come home at night, we know that something wrong. That's what they tell us.
Wouldn't a knee-jerk response, though, Mrs. Blaine, create a bombarding of the services of the police? That person, one hours and they just call at the same time, and then they call again next day?
Yeah, so that's a problem, and we understand that we don't have the resources. The JCF does not have it to handle all of those cases, right? However, the report should be made. Here is a problem, Doc. You don't know if your child was abducted, for example.
Right.
What if it is a case of serious abduction?
Better
if
safe
it's a
than
case
sorry.
of serious abduction, you have to move right away. Because the chances of finding a child alive you'd have to start that search within a few hours.
Right.
So it's a tricky thing, eh?
Yeah. Dr. Norcott, on average, how many children go missing globally, and what percentage of them return or are found?
We really have no idea how many kids go missing globally. We know for certain, we can say with certainty that it's over 1 million. We are in the process of developing some algorithms to try to figure this out, because it's a huge problem. The vast majority of kids do return home safely. Stranger abduction is very, very rare. But any kid who doesn't come home is one kid too many. And so, to Betty Ann's point, it may seem like a burden to have every parent call in when their child doesn't come home, but it's important. We have to think about the individual child every time a child goes missing.
Yes. And Mrs. Blaine, as far as you are aware, locally, what are the statistics?
Well, pre-COVID, on an average every month, we had over 100 reports. Some months were higher, like 130. But on an average, somewhere around 130. This was before COVID. Since COVID, the numbers have fallen, but it's still many reports, somewhere around 90, probably close to 100 reports. Since COVID, most of those children actually return home.
Tell you what, Mrs. Blaine. I'm sorry, could you just hold that thought? We're on a break, we'll be right back.
Right, sure.
Vision Center, 65 Main Street, St. Anne's Bay, near the St. Anne's Bay Health Center. The only full care eye service center in St. Anne.
The time by
Phoenix Health and Vision Center
is
7:15 on the family station, Love 101. Just a reminder, the Morning Watch today is brought to you by Honey Bun.
When all is done and said, me love me shawty bread. You love your shawty what? Me love me shawty bread. And it was made by Honey Bun. Me love me shawty bread.
The Ministry of Health and Wellness wishes to advise that it has resumed vaccination for persons 50 years and older who are due their second dose. These persons will be contacted by the parish health department, and members of the public are asked not to visit any vaccination site unless they have been contacted by the health team. Persons should take their vaccination card, TRN, and a government-issued identification or letter from a justice of the peace to the vaccination site. The Ministry of Health and Wellness thanks the public for their cooperation.
NIS pensioners, avoid the wait. Get your NIS pension straight to your bank account. It's easy. Simply visit the Ministry of Labour and Social Security's website, mlss.gov.jm, or the nearest NIS office and collect the direct deposit application form. Then complete the form and submit it along with supporting documents to the NIS office nearest you. Avoid crowds and long lines. Get your money when you want it. The National Insurance Scheme, always working for you.
Hey, psst, come closer. I want to tell you my secret. My son wears his favorite shirt for everything, and no matter how much he runs, jumps, and plays, it always looks like new and smells really good. My secret? I use Suavitel Superior Care. Keeps my family's clothes as good as new. Suavitel, as soft as a mother's love.
We're all in the Sagicor bonus savings. We're all in
Sagicor Bank bonus savings account. The pooled savings account from Sagicor Bank.
We're all in
Bonus savings account pays you monthly interest, plus a bonus each month to top up your savings.
in the Sagicor bonus savings.
The bigger the pool of savings, the bigger the bonus. Together, everyone earns more with
Sagicor bonus savings. We're all in.
We're all in with Sagicor Bank bonus savings account.
Me a forward.
Is where you going?
What you mean? Me get my vaccine so me can touch the road now.
Touch road? You know your ears hard. The health people said this is only the first dose, and we need 2 doses to be fully protected.
Eh? What you mean?
When me mean, we're waiting for the second dose, Mr. Sir. So you try turn your yard and go and follow the protocols. Wear your mask, wash your hand, and keep your distance from other people.
Get vaccinated, get back to life. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. And in this, the first watch, we are discussing the whole matter of children when they go missing. And we have online Dr. Felicity Sackville-Norcott, Director of Global Missing Children Center. And we have Mrs. Betty Ann Blaine, founder of Hear the Children's Cry. Mrs. Blaine, before the break, you're telling us about COVID and the impact, the difference in the figures with the missing children.
Right. And I was saying that most of them, thank God, most of them do, in fact, come back home. They return home. Probably about, 90% of the kids who are reported missing go back home. But that in itself is a problem. One of the things here the Children's Cry is trying to do is to intervene in these families, to prevent that child from, going missing. And if they went missing, to prevent them from going, because, you have children who are repeat missing persons. In other words, they go missing time and time again.
Yeah.
We give priority to those kids because that kind of thing speaks to serious problems at home.
Yeah. Right.
We have most of these kids that go missing are in fact runaways. We have, we launched 2 years ago a runaway prevention program called Let's Talk, Don't Walk. And our objective for that program is to try to step into the situation in the family before the child actually leaves home. Because when they leave home, and even if it's for a couple hours overnight, a week, 2 weeks, whatever, these children are extremely vulnerable. We've had kids that have gone missing, that have been gang raped while they're missing, that have been abused, physically abused. They come back home traumatized. In the cases of our girls, some of them come back home pregnant. They come back home with, and the other problem is that when they go missing for weeks and months, they don't attend school, you know. Well, we're talking about COVID now, but pre-COVID, they don't attend school. So the problem of leaving home is a huge problem. And we try to say to the kids, look, if you have problems at home, because the problem of missing children and runaways speak to a serious problem in family life in Jamaica. A child who is happy will not run away from home. A child who lives in a happy home. I'm not talking about a rich home, a home with all the material things. I'm talking about a home where that child is loved, is listened to, and has a good relationship with their parents. That child will not run away. And so what we try to do is intervene in the situation, into this home situation, to try to, to mend the problems that exist in the home.
Yes. Dr. Norcott, in your opening statement, you had mentioned some of the reasons. Children just run away. There are parental abductions, you mentioned, trafficking.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other reasons for children leaving the home? And what are the demographics showing in this regard? Boys versus girls, family types and such the like.
So one of the there are two reasons kids leave home. They're running away from something or they're running to something. And one of our big concerns, obviously, is online exploitation. Kids are spending more and more time online, particularly during COVID, and there are people online who are enticing them to leave home. These, by and large, are traffickers. They are posing as a peer, as a boyfriend or a potential boyfriend or girlfriend. So the young person leaves home thinking they're going to meet this person that they've been talking to online. This is a huge, huge problem. In the United States, over 400,000 kids run away every year. A lot of those kids, as Betty Ann says, these kids are exploited and abused when they run away from home. It's about equal 50-50 girls and boys, but it's not always that things are bad in the home. Sometimes they're running to something that they think is better. They're lonely. They want to make a connection with another person. And so they go to this person who they think is a friend, and it turns out to be somebody who wants to harm them.
Mrs. Blaine, I just heard Dr. Norcott say it's 50-50, boys and girls. Is that the same in Jamaica?
No, not at all. We have more girls than boys, but we do have boys. The majority of missing children in Jamaica are, in fact, girls between the ages, generally speaking, of 13 and 17. That's the age group we see mainly, and they're mainly girls.
And what about the family structure and the income and all that? Upper class, lower class?
Look, this problem of missing children is linked to family issues. I'm happy that Felicity talked about the online hazards and risks and exploitation of children, because that's another huge area of concern for us. The access these children have to social media and to the predators that are very, very active, particularly at this time of this pandemic. But most of these kids that go missing in Jamaica are from poor and working class families. That's what we see. We've never had a report, I have to tell you, in 12 years in Jamaica of a child being reported missing from, say, the upper middle classes of Jamaican society. So it is linked to family life. Absolutely not.
Well, what is that saying to you? What is that saying? With that type of
it speaks to. Well, of course, it speaks to issues of poverty. It speaks to issues of the issues related to poverty. Let me just say this, Doc. When we go to visit some of these homes where these children live, who were formerly missing, and return home, and we visit their homes, And again, this is before COVID. It's depressing. You can see why these children would want to leave home. The living conditions are deplorable in many cases. Deplorable. Absolutely deplorable. And so the children are unhappy. And, Felicity mentioned some of these pull factors. What's luring them? A lot of children in Jamaica leave home because they're very, very poor. I mean, I don't know if, when we had this Zoom forum recently, one young boy, 15 years old, when we asked him why he was missing for 3 weeks, we asked, why did you go missing? Why did you leave home? He said he was tired of seeing his mother crying because they had nothing to eat.
Oh.
That's right there. That's right. That's what's driving it in Jamaica is family poverty, child poverty, other problems with family life. But the children leave, many of them, because they see their friends, and life looks better on the other side. There are certain things they would like, material things, and they're lured by their peers or by adult males, in the case of girls and boys too, who offer them all kinds of things, material things.
Yeah.
So we know that this problem of poverty, deprivation, even hunger. This young man said he left because they're hungry. They're hungry. Can you imagine?
I'll tell you.
So
Dr. Norcott, as we wind down, what suggestions, recommendations then would you give to parents or guardians in light of all that has been said thus far?
I mean, it's a difficult thing. I mean, Betty Ann has an amazing organization and does incredible things, but you can't overcome these systemic problems. Listening to your children, being aware of where they are, who they're talking to, who they're spending time with. Those things are very important. Communication, even when you lack material resources, certainly communication, showing love, doing the best that you can, listening, paying attention, being aware of your surroundings and your children's surroundings are really important. Again, we can't make people rich, but we can certainly support them in supporting their children emotionally and psychologically to the best of their ability.
What about Dr. Norcott? Those situations where the children are saying you're being too nosy, prying into their business, and so on.
Well, eventually all kids grow up. I mean, I've lived through teenage years with my kids, and it's not easy. But our job is not to be our children's friends. Our job is to be our children's parents. And it's our right as parents.
Not both, Dr. Norcott?
Sorry?
Not both friends and parents?
No, you can't be.
Mutually exclusive?
I think they are until the children are old enough to know the difference. Sometimes we have to make those hard decisions and we have to say, no, you can't do that. Or yes, it's my right to know what you're doing. And I think when they get older and they're independent, absolutely, you can be friends with them. But as they're growing up, it's your job to parent them, not to be friends with them. That's my philosophy on child rearing.
Great. Mrs. Blaine, you have the final word, 1 minute. Literally 1 minute.
Well, I agree with all of those things that Felicity mentioned. What we find in the homes, it's really a lack of communication, the relations between and relationships in the homes between parents and their children. Oftentimes the children tell us parents don't listen. There is quite a bit of physical abuse, which of course would lead a child to leave home. We find that happens a lot. And so if we're going to fix this problem in Jamaica, we're going to have to invest a lot in reconstructing family life and looking at how can we help families, particularly single mothers. Most of our children are being raised in homes, as you know, by women, by single mothers. Mm-hmm. Fathers are not around. Those are the root problems. If we can get to some of those root problems, we can fix this problem of missing children.
A fitting note on which to end. I want to thank you so very much, ladies, Dr. Sackville Northcott and Mrs. Blaine, for joining us this morning. Have a blessed day, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our pleasure. Thank you. My pleasure.
Listeners, the Morning Watch will return in just a moment.
JN Auto Loan, helping you on your journey. Roll out and make a statement in your brand new vehicle.
The time by JN will help you find a way is 7:30.
We're working on a brighter day. You don't have to fret. You know your family secure. You don't need no stress. It's like you run a 5K, set the pace, win the race, celebrate, and you still never bust no sweat. We see we brother and we sister. This is how we heal them. Easy now, you and Guardian Life, it's a nation we're building. Many hearts, but we all want the same thing. Live secure and live easy.
Emerge from this pandemic stronger, qualified, and ready to work with local and international certificates in just 1 month at Distinction College. Start our final 1-month super course Bonanza program, July 10 to August 14, and get certified in geriatric and pediatric nursing, phlebotomy, call center, customer service, receptionist, business administration, guest sharing, supervisory management, basic computing, childcare, nail tech, housekeeping, waitering. No subjects required, no age limit, no entrance test. Register this week and get up to 25% discount on all courses. Call us at 876-356-4167. Visit us in Kingston, Spanish Town, Old Terrace, and St. Elizabeth.
Not easy.
When all is done and said, me love me shawty bread. You love your shawty what? You love me shawty bread. And it was made by honey bun. Me love me shawty bread.
I always do my best to stay in control of my expenses. So with Flow, I added my mobile to my home internet service and elevated my savings. I get 50% off my mobile plan each month. Yeah man, I get a simple, predictable mobile bill of $1,600 plus GCT and never sign a contract nor made a deposit. And you can get this too. Add your mobile to your Flow home internet for elevated savings of 50% off your mobile plan each month. Visit the Flow store or discoverflow.co to sign up today.
It's your time. Yeah. Young people, millennials, and the young at heart, this one is for you. Join us this Friday, June 25 inside Fellowship Fridays for our Youth Fellowship Takeover at the Linstead Pentecostal Tabernacle. You heard right. Siobhan Blair will be traveling all the way to Linstead St. Catherine to join the fun worship and ministry at the Linstead Pentecostal Tabernacle Youth Fellowship on Friday at 7 p.m. for a takeover. Be sure to join us live on our Facebook and YouTube as we worship together, millennial style. That's our I Love Summer Parish Spotlight Youth Fellowship Takeover this Friday, 7 p.m. here on the family station, Love 101.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Let's take a look at the newspapers to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing in the Gleaner. Ganja money exodus. Export hurdles prompting investors to pull out, says Holness. And then dump fire payouts hailed as victory for citizen rights. We also see in the Gleaner, Doc champions insurance after rare implant surgery. In the Observer, bar patrol. Minister Mackenzie says 2,500 people employed to ensure bars have required spirit licenses. And then, changes to Extradition Act won't infringe people's rights, says Delroy Chuck. And then there is pressure on government to establish effective post-crash care system. Tongue twister there. Those are some of the major stories in our newspapers. Well, coming up next, we'll read some of the feedback from our Facebook and WhatsApp question. How big a concern in Jamaica are fly-by-night pastors? Share your responses on our Facebook page, Love 101 FM, and also whether by text or voice note to WhatsApp 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your responses later on in the program. Soon come back.
It's Marriage Models Thursday. Tune in this Thursday, June 24, inside To Have and To Hold, with host Colleen Beckles and marriage models of 19 years of marital bliss, Sean and Dulcita Franklin from the Worship and Faith International Fellowship, WAFIF in Spanish Town. Join us as we will talk everything from dating to preparing for marriage to ministry on to staying married for almost 20 years. That's To Have and To Hold this Thursday, June 24 at 5:30 p.m. with marriage models of 19 years, Sean and Dulcita Franklin, and host Colleen Beckles on your family station, Love 101.
You're invited to listen to Dollars and Cents every Thursday at 8:16 a.m. We'll give you tips on how to make your money count, how to save, and how to grow your worth. It's all inside Dollars and Cents, brought to you by BPM Financial Limited, taking you higher. That's Dollars and Cents every Thursday at 8:16 a.m. on the family station, Love 101.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Well, let's join Siobhan for a look at how our Facebook and WhatsApp friends answered today's question. How big a concern in Jamaica are fly-by-night pastors? Siobhan.
All right. Sister Matilda says there does not seem to be any concern, or so many would not be flying by night. I have often wondered why there is no interdenominational body to deal with such matters. All right. Let me see what this person is saying. Cherry says, if God didn't call you to be a pastor, don't take it. Yes, the office look good, you know. And if God called you and you need help, get help. Many voices around will talk a lot, but shut them down and go get help. Every choice we make comes with consequences, whether good or bad, and so we have to live with it for the rest of our lives. All right. Let me see what this one is saying now. Where do I go? This one says, build your own personal relationship with God and you will not be affected. All right. Keep the conversation going, folks.
Yeah. Thank you, Siobhan.
Yes, right.
Thanks, responders. Okay. On June 10, 2021, a Gleaner report entitled Calls for Background Checks for Fly-by-Night Pastors raised concerns in regards to the increasing number of pastors implicated in sex-related crimes. Now, there's perhaps no other calling or profession that holds the practitioner to higher standards or expectations than that of a minister of religion. So, if or when he or she is allegedly caught in criminal activity, there is cause for great concern, even more so when there seems to be no across-the-board system of checks and balances. In this, the second watch, the focus is on these so-called fly-by-night pastors. And to discuss this issue, we have joined us this morning Pastor Charles Brevitt, pastor of the King's Seventh-day Adventist Church, and the Reverend Glendon Powell, pastor of the Flankers Open Bible Church. Good morning to you both.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, Reverend Powell. I haven't seen you in a while, man.
Reverend Powell, is he with us?
He's on mute. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm there. I'm there.
Okay. All right. Welcome as well to both.
How are you?
Doing
it's
well.
Good to be on this morning with my colleague and friend, Reverend Brevitt.
Yes.
I haven't seen him for a long time, although we are in Montego together.
How's the weather in the West?
Say that again, Rev.
How's the weather?
Yes, it's bright and sunny, man.
It's bright and sunny.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Bright and sunny. Yeah.
All right. pastors, the aforementioned newspaper report spoke about fly-by-night pastors, and I doubt either of you originated the phrase. But what is your understanding of that term? Beginning with you, Reverend Powell.
All right. I can certainly say that I did not come up with that phrase, fly-by-night pastor. But I think that the understanding that I have is that it's pastors who just overnight just set up a church and start to preach or to teach. And sometimes what I feel that they may have this passion for the preaching or the teaching, but they need to have some kind of proper training and mentorship. Even if they go to a Bible school, it does not eliminate getting some kind of mentoring. So I guess sometimes because of this passion and maybe there's a call, but the call must be directed as well.
All right, Pastor Brevitt, what's your understanding of the term fly-by-night pastor?
Well, I agree with Reverend Powell, excepting that I am very hesitant to use the term. Because the truth is, whatever these folk are doing, there's an appetite for it. And I don't want being a part of a mainstream church to use terms that demean people who are not as recognized as my organization is. That's the first thing.
Yes.
The second thing is that we have to be very careful when we discuss this matter of religious freedom. Because and I think the term freedom is poorly understood. In other words, Reverend Powell, you have the freedom to swing your hand, but that freedom ends where my jawbone begins. Right? And so when we say religious freedom, we cannot only say that freedom holds for mainstream religions. And that is what has opened the door for new thought in the religious arena. And there seems to be a religious commercialism, right? You are offering something for every palate, so to speak. Some of us are prepared to change our doctrine just to be politically correct, right? We have the Hollywood drama that has crept into religion. And so, yes, there is the roadside pulpit, and the people who are enthusiastic about their faith and eager to share it. But here is my little caution, if not concern. Before somebody is recognized as a pastor, or before, because the Jim Jones thing must come up in our minds, you know. So we must have some regulations.
But Jim Jones, sorry, Pastor Brevitt. Jim Jones, you wouldn't call a fly-by-night pastor.
No.
His years of he's going on in Guyana.
I'm coming to that point because what we are discussing now is not only limited to fly-by-nights.
Okay.
What we are discussing now, what the Gleaner article has referenced, it is not limited to fly-by-nights. Mainstream experienced, well-respected and revered individuals are also caught up in there. So I am saying, and I'm agreeing with Reverend Powell, there ought to be some roadmap. There ought to be some protocol that will prepare people to get into the pastoral arena. It needs a little more than enthusiasm, because obviously, Reverend Powell, I am taking it for granted that in this particular case, people who are giving pastoral leadership do not know the intricacies of the Child Care and Protection Act.
Tell you what, Pastor Brevitt, could you just hold that thought, please? We are on a break. We'll be right back.
Okay.
This is Love 101. The family station is now 7:45.
Become the hero on the scene by taking the COVID vaccine.
Get vaccinated as soon as you get all the facts. Don't listen to the rumors. This vaccine might just make it possible for teachers to sit face to face with schoolers. This vaccine make it safer for everybody, from the young to the elderly. Don't you want to go back to living normally when things were more orderly? And if you want to live a long good life, then we all have to do what's right. So let's get vaccinated along with the heroes on the front line.
A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
When all is done and said, me love me shawty bread. You love your shawty what? Me love me shawty bread. And it was made by honey bun. Me love me shawty bread.
I always do my best to stay in control of my expenses. So with Flow, I added my mobile to my home internet service and elevated my savings. I get 50% off my mobile plan each month. Yeah man, I get a simple, predictable mobile bill of $1,600 plus GCT and never sign a contract nor made a deposit. And you can get this too. Add your mobile to your Flow home internet for elevated savings of 50% off your mobile plan each month. Visit the Flow store or discoverflow.co to sign up today.
Bills to pay and funds to transfer? No problem. I do it all on my time with JN Bank Live Online Banking. It's my simple and secure as that online banking.
Phone credit need a top up? No problem. I do it with JN Bank Live Online Banking.
It's quick and easy with just a few clicks. JN Bank Live Online Banking that goes where you go. Sign up today. Visit jnbank.com. JN Bank will help you find a way.
You're invited to listen to Dollars and Cents every Thursday at 8:16 a.m. We'll give you tips on how to make your money count, how to save, and how to grow your worth. It's all inside Dollars and Cents, brought to you by BPM Financial Limited, taking you higher. That's Dollars and Cents every Thursday at 8:16 a.m. on the family station, Love 101.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint, and for this, the second watch, we are discussing the church and concerns about fly-by-night pastors. We have online the Reverend Glendon Powell, pastor of the Flankers Open Bible Church, and Pastor Charles Brevitt, pastor of the King's Seventh-day Adventist Church. Pastor Brevitt, before the break, you were telling us about some protocols that you think we should have to prepare people to get into the pastorate and the Child Care Protection Act.
Yes, and I speak to Reverend Powell because he is a man who is one of the movers and shakers in this area. I feel, Reverend Powell, that there has to be some effort by some combined pastors association. Because listen, when a man gets up, and we call him fly-by-night, let's stick with that term, and Reverend Powell has described that as somebody who just dropped off the wall or somebody who just overnight raised himself from a lay preacher to a pastor. I am saying, Reverend Powell, I hope you will agree with me, that now puts him in a key position. People will come to him for counseling. And in my enthusiasm, I might say to a couple having problem, oh, marriage is for life, so I think you have to stay in there and pray. The next morning I hear that one of them is dead. So pastors are put in a position to give counseling, to give advice. People rely on pastors for instructions in financial, ethical matters. I can't give what I don't have. So there must be a minimal standard that people are trained to reach up to.
Hearing you. Reverend Powell, I know you want to respond, but while you respond, what about those who would argue that in the Bible, the pastoring is not identified as a certified role, rather it's a holy calling, acknowledged and affirmed by a local congregation, and haven't certified pastors, trained pastors, also found guilty of similar charges?
All right. First of all, I want to correct my church placement. I am not at Flankers Open Bible Church. I'm the pastor of the Unity Hall Open Bible Church.
Okay.
Right?
Thanks for the correction.
Thank you. Now, I want us to understand something here that is very, very important for us to understand. I am not here saying that senior pastors or any pastor for that instance cannot fall into that kind of situation. But I am saying that what we're finding is that there are too many times that we're having too much a recurrence of young ministers. Very rare you find the older pastors get involved. But even whatever, we must understand that it is the Holy Spirit of God that really gives us control. It doesn't matter how passionate we are about ministry. And I believe that I love when somebody has passion, you know, and we need more persons to have passion, but those passion must be guided. And the passion is guided by one, training. It must be guided by proper mentorship. Thirdly, it must be guided by proper submission. What we find is that not many young ministers want to sit at the feet of senior men. So the minute they feel a sense of call, they want to go on their own. That is a problem. You see, because there is more to this ministry than preaching. You understand what I'm saying? Like Reverend Brevitt says, once you take on that mantle, you are going to find that person is going to come for marital counsel. They are going to come for other problems. So there are so many sides to it. Preaching is simply about 10% of pastoring. And once people feel that they have power, then they feel that, boy, I can manipulate. You see, it is sad when somebody goes to a minister for help and they are vulnerable and pastors move on their vulnerability. It is sad because they go for help. When they leave, if somebody comes to you for counsel and you get involved sexually and otherwise with them, you put them into a deeper hole. Because first, when they're coming to you, they're coming with an expectation that you have a higher moral standard, a higher spiritual standard. You know, so I'm saying that we can't throw these young people. We don't want to bash them. We just want to say we would want to open our arms and provide, if they are willing, we would try to provide some source of help because they are necessary. You know, they are necessary to come into the kingdom to preach the gospel. You know, at this particular time, we need more ministers. We need more preachers. You know, we need to...
Yes, Pastor Brevitt.
Seems as if we lost Reverend Powell. May I add why we try to get him back?
Yes. Go ahead, Pastor Brevitt. You're saying something? Are we lost both?
Saying I am right beside Reverend Powell. Because the truth is, as a pastor, you are in a position of authority and power. People look up to you. And I can tell you, using that authority that respect gives to you judiciously is difficult. And Reverend Powell, the challenge we face now is that organizations like yours and mine can have a mentorship program. We have an internship program. Right. The people we are talking about, they don't have that luxury. And so they get up this morning with a call in their minds and they that kind of a stuff.
I'm not sure if it's just my line, but Pastor Brevitt, are you still with us?
It seems as if he's off.
Okay, Reverend Powell, let me ask, in the meantime, shouldn't the major call be for a greater sense of morality and accountability among members of the clergy, whether they be maybe whether they be long-standing, whether they just entered the ministry, everybody, morality and accountability, isn't that the main concern?
That's right where the problem is, morality and accountability. You see, in our organization, if somebody, whatever it is, it does not have to be sex. If somebody has some kind of misstep, no matter what, they are pulled in, they're drawn in. And when they come, we don't come with the knife to kill them. We bring them and we put them to training, further training, proper mentorship. We send them to senior men who will say, all right, this is your particular weakness, and we want to help you. We want to guide you through your particular weakness.
Don't think I'm hearing Reverend Powell.
Yes. Well, we'll fix that momentarily, Pastor Brevitt. Yes, continue, Reverend Powell.
Yes. So, and we're saying that, you know, it is important for you. But one of the problems is that many times persons have particular weaknesses and they don't want to admit it. They don't want to face it. We need to face our Goliath. Whatever that problem, whatever that weakness is, face it. Because if you don't conquer it, it will conquer you.
Yeah. Pastor Brevitt, can you hear me? Pastor Brevitt is gone. Okay. Reverend Powell is still with you. We're having some technical challenges.
We as Open Bible, right now we are having our national conference and convention. And every year we give accountability to our membership. The pastors, they have to prepare a report for the national board and for the conference, and both financial report and status of ministers and status of churches. So we have the system. So wherever these reports comes into us, we look at them and we see what church, what pastor, what need to be fixed, and we try to put things in place to get these things fixed.
Yes,
you know, so they're not left on their own. Are
you with us?
Let me say this. I don't know. Some of these what churches that are just set up overnight, they don't have no accountability. They don't give a financial report at the end of the year. You understand? But in our local churches, we give a financial report to our members every year. And that report goes also to the head office.
Reverend Powell, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
What suggestions, and we have only 1 minute left really, but I shouldn't be asking this loaded question so late, but what suggestions or recommendations quickly would you give to congregations whose pastors have engaged themselves in shameful and scandalous practices?
Well, again, we want to say the thing is not to write off, it's to seek help for that minister. Because, let me say, we can remember one person who had failed, and I call his name because I am proud of him today, Jimmy Swaggart. But he came back, and he's doing a mighty job in the kingdom of God. God does not believe in the write-off thing, but he believes that we must restore. We must restore. Reconciliation is a part of our ministry. Reconciliation. I don't believe in writing off anyone. I believe in restoring.
Well said. Thank you so very much, Reverend Powell. I don't know if Pastor Brevitt had come back on, but thanks as well, Pastor Brevitt, for joining us. Have a productive day, gentlemen. And all the
Thank you, Reverend. Thank you for hosting us this morning. And I appreciate the fact that I could come on this platform to make my own contribution.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
God bless you. Thank you. Keep up the good work. Yes, sir.
Come on, you too. Thank you, listeners, for being with us. For information, how to get copies of this program, call our production department at 876-968-9596-7. This has been The Morning Watch. Thanks to our producer, Miss Kathy Gale, and our guests. Please join Mr. Stokely Marshall soon as he continues to look at the issues of the day. I'm Dylan Toussaint, reminding you to be purposeful, faithful, thankful, and watchful as I hand you back to Love in the Morning with Shavonne Blair.
And the Morning Watch today was brought to you by Honey Bun. Me love me shorty bread. This is Love 101.
When all is done and said, me love me shorty bread. You love your shorty what? Me love me shorty bread. And it was made by Honey Bun. Me love me shorty bread.
8:01 at the Fabulous Station, Love 101. It's time for the program.